The newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The government has made some revisions in the quarantine classifications from August 1st to 15. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque said Cebu province is now under GCQ with heightened restrictions from the previous modified ECQ status. Meanwhile, the GCQ status of Laguna, Aklan, and Apayao has been reclassified to modified ECQ as recommended by local governments and the IATF. Now, as for the latest on COVID-19 numbers, the Health Department logged over 8,700 new cases today. That's 600 more than yesterday. This raises the total number of cases to nearly 1.6 million. Of this total, 4% are active cases, amounting to more than 63,000 patients. At least 127 new deaths were recorded today, fewer than the 167 deaths yesterday. The total number of deaths now accounts for 1.75% of the overall COVID-19 tally. Meanwhile, over 5,900 people have recovered today, 4,000 lower than yesterday. All in all, 94.4% of the cases have already recovered from COVID-19. The reproduction number of COVID-19 in NCR increased from 1.29 last week to 1.52 this week. The Octa Research Group says the rapid growth rate might be indicative of a community transmission of the Delta variant in the region. In their latest report released today, the Octa Research noted that the 7-day average of new cases in NCR last week rose 40% to 1,279 this week. A huge factor that contributed to that is the record of 1,740 new cases on July 31st, the highest since May 10 when NCR was still under MECQ. Now, at least 530 more hospital beds were also occupied this week, while the ICU occupancy also increased from 45 to 52% this week. With the increasing threat of the highly transmissible Delta variant, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is mulling about vaccinating minors. He believes if the kids, parents, and other adults whom they interact with are susceptible, then so they are. The chairperson on the Senate Committee on Education also thinks this move is a step into the right direction. Gatchalian added that it's only a matter of time when students should return to face-to-face classes. Vaccine brands like Pfizer have been cleared as safe for 12 years old to 15 years old, while Sinovac has also sought approval from the Food and Drug Administration for its emergency use for 3 to 17 years olds. Let's talk more about that with Health Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega. He's joining us live over the phone. Dr. Vega, good evening.
Good evening, Lisa, and good evening to all listeners right now.
Senator Win Gatchalian is calling for the immediate vaccination of children, kids. Any thoughts?
Yes, I think that's what is the direction, but right now the guidance coming from the FDA is that the vaccinees must be 18 years old and above. And I believe that also a lot of these vaccine suppliers are going to request the FDA to seek approval for vaccinating below 18 years old. So I guess that would be in that direction. As long as we have the proper guidance coming from the FDA, and we have also made sure that most of the A1 to A2 to A3 and till A4 would have been vaccinated, meaning that we will be reaching at least 60 to 70% of the population.
Doc, what's your reaction to the over 8,000 new cases again that we reported today? What does this say about our COVID-19 situation?
Right now, Lisa, I think we have all known that about 6 to 7 regions have been identified in terms of the Delta variant. And I guess the NCR has the most number of detection in terms of this Delta variant. And I guess this is one of the reasons that the Delta being highly transmissible, there seems to be a spike of the number of cases that we have here now in Metro Manila. Although there are upticks coming from different cities, but we would also have to be sure that our hospitals will not also be overwhelmed. So the main reason for this really is the Delta variant.
Doc, do you believe that there still is no community transmission of the Delta variant just yet?
There are local transmissions now, and I guess it has already been identified in several areas that there is really a local transmission, meaning to say that before that, it was really the travelers or international travelers who would carry this variants, whether it's Alpha or Beta or Delta. But now we are seeing this as an isolation in the different communities. So we have seen local cases.
Doc, the NCR Plus bubble is set to revert back to a 2-week ECQ. Do you think this would be enough?
I think that this would be enough in a sense that we will be able to delay the transmission of this virus, and meaning that there will be a few more cases to be affected, and definitely it will also make sure that there will be less hospitalization and even death. I think this is really one of the preventive aspects, because this virus is, although it has mutated, it's still the same coronavirus, and the strategy is still very much the same. It's going to be prevention, of course, with our minimum health standards, testing and isolation. And if we can isolate people and contact trace these individuals in less than 48 hours, the better it is to control the virus. So, in other words, these 2 weeks is actually making sure that we are less people are mobile. There's non-essentials of activities are curtailed. So therefore, there will be less transmission of this virus.
Doc, final question. You mentioned there is, of course, the reimposition of the ECQ and the NCR Plus bubble. Also, the points that you just mentioned. But what else could the IATF do, plus, of course, the DOH, to be able to mitigate further the spread of the Delta variant?
I think the stand of the IATF right now is that to be very aggressive. Aggressive in a sense that we have to, escalate this quarantine position of the NCR at once, because we know very well that this Delta behaves in a different way compared to the others. It's highly transmissible, and it's very different because it would actually have a higher viral loads in individual. So this is one, aggressiveness in terms of the local government and making sure that they are able to implement the minimum health standards, and of course lessen the movement of people, and the super spreader events, they should not be there. And of course also on the testing side, we are going to ramp up especially the testing, and making sure also that the hospitals are also ready for any eventuality, meaning to say that there has to be a proper allocation of the number of COVID beds and ICU beds. So we are really making sure for this week ECQ that we have to ready ourselves and lessen the transmission of the virus.
Doc, thank you for sharing with us your time and your insights. That's Health Undersecretary Dr. Leopoldo Vega. Catastrophe on top of a catastrophe. This is how Burmese people describe the devastating third wave of COVID-19 cases and an ongoing political unrest in Myanmar. Let's watch this report from Bloomberg.
Almost 6 months since the military seized power in a coup, Myanmar is now suffering a devastating third wave of coronavirus. Across the country, they're accused for the increasingly rare supplies of oxygen and for the crematoriums.
I think it's catastrophic. We don't know exactly how bad it is, but the numbers that we're seeing are alarming. Any official figures we get from the government, I think we can just assume that the numbers are actually significantly higher than what we're we're hearing.
With doctors and healthcare workers among the first to stop work and join the civil disobedience movement against the coup, many are now in hiding, hunted by the junta.
You know, the public call the doctors as heroes due to our actions in the COVID pandemic last year. But we have become criminals overnight by the military.
Just absolutely incredible to me, and I think to any sane person, to think that here's a regime facing this extraordinary catastrophe and spending its time harassing and arresting doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals. I mean, the fact is, you can't fight COVID-19 and be attacking doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals at the same time.
More than 900 people have been killed in the military crackdown since the coup, and thousands more have been arrested. Calls for international intervention have so far gone unanswered.
I think it's important for the international community to look deep within itself, to look at the options that exist right now that are not being exercised and seize them, because really we don't have much time. We're almost 6 months into this coup. People continue to be arrested. Attacks continue all over the country. And on top of that, we have COVID-19 and this Delta variant. So this is a catastrophe on top of a catastrophe. And what we need in Myanmar is not just emergency medical assistance, but we need emergency international engagement, pressuring the military junta to stop its reign of terror on the people of Myanmar.
The military says it's ordered oxygen plants to work at full capacity and has imported enough COVID medical supplies to meet the rise in demand. It has promised to hold fresh elections following a state of emergency that could last as long as 2 years.
And for more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.